So if I could have your attention, please,
Oh, you got it. Good. I just want to make sure.
Yep, I got it. The fire marshal has advised us that there is a certain number of people is all we can have inside this room. So all of the chairs are now full. We can have 18 people standing inside this room. And I'm sorry, but everyone else will have to go into the lobby. So if you all will look around, and if you all, part of you will move into the lobby so that we have 18 people left inside this room that's standing. Thank you. Not get an agenda whenever you came in. They have made more copies, and there are some back there for you to pick up by the door if you did not get one.
I want one.
Call to order this regular meeting of the Siloam Springs Board of Directors for March 21, 2023. Roll call.
Blair. Here. Miley.
Here.
Wiles.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Rissler.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
At this time, if you will still stand with me as Director Wiles leads us in prayer and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we come before you this evening just asking that you will bless this town and those that reside in it. Father, we just pray that each day the things we do and say will bring glory and honor to you. We are so grateful for the love that you give us. We are so grateful for Jesus and the salvation we have in him. And it is in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I would like to ask anyone that has an electronic device to please silence that or turn that off at this time, please, so we don't have an interruption during the meeting. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is public input time. There are some established rules for public input time. And I would like to share those with everyone here because I know that a lot of you are here to make a statement and we certainly want you to do that. But there are some rules in place for that. So I want to make sure we are all understanding and know what those are. Each speaker must be recognized by the mayor and shall first state his or her name and address, followed by a concise statement of your position on the matter being discussed. Repetitive comments should be avoided. All remarks shall be addressed to the mayor or the board of directors as a whole and not to any particular member of the board of directors. No person other than the directors and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussions without permission of the mayor. No questions shall be directed to a director or city staff member except through the mayor. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, timed by the designated official, which is myself. All members of the public, all city staff, and elected officials shall accord the utmost courtesy and respect to each other at all times. All shall refrain from rude or derogatory remarks, reflections as to integrity, abusive comments, and statements about motives or personalities. Any member of the public who violates these standards shall be ruled out of order by the mayor, must immediately cease speaking, shall leave the podium, and may be removed from the meeting. I appreciate you all being here. So I want to say one more thing. There is an item on our agenda, that item G, which is under contracts and approvals. This is for approval of the job posting for the city administrator position. So I want to make sure that you all understand that that particular item, the discussion will be strictly about the job posting. So if you have comments to make or anything that you want to add other than that particular item during the public input time is whenever you will need to do that. So having said that, I would ask if there's anyone that would like to address the Board of Directors regarding any item that is not listed on the board's regular agenda. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Blake Jones. My address is 1105 East Courage Street. I'm here today to address these 2 videos that I have. They're redactions from your police officers. And they say that they've been redacted because there's ACIC redactions, which is the radio traffic. This would allow me not to view any of this record that the exemption applies. I requested that all video be in the same time format for these 2 officers and the dispatch radio log. It was confirmed these times are exact to each other. This was clearly impossible when one of the officers' radio is working while the other one's not. Also, the radio dispatch log itself works just fine while the officer's communication is being redacted. The city attorney and Philip Patterson, along with the department, denied my request to obtain previous FOIA videos until the attorney general told them that they had to give it to me. When they prevent me from this evidence, it is a felony under Arkansas Code 5-53-111. Tampering with physical evidence. A person commits the offense of tampering with physical evidence if he or she alters, destroys, suppresses, removes, or conceals any record, document, or thing with the purpose of impairing its verity, legibility, or availability in any official proceeding or investigation. Tampering with physical evidence is a Class D felony. If the person impairs or obstructs the prosecution or defense of a felony, which all of you know that's where I'm at. If the person does that, they're subject to that, and you don't have any right not to press charges on that person. You don't have the right to, because it's not a misdemeanor, it's a felony, so that person needs to be arrested immediately, or any and all persons who did that. And I've addressed this many times before you, and you were told by Philip Patterson and the city attorney there was nothing to see for my concerns. That was incorrect all along, and Philip Patterson has abused his position of office to lie to the members of this board and allow the police department to continue perpetrating crimes against its citizens. And I demand you now hold these people accountable. The videos do not lie, and I thank you for terminating Mr. Patterson, as he does not hold the interest of this city or its people. Hopefully justice can be served, not only on these officers, but also for those who chose to ignore these violations of my constitutional rights and others of this city.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Is there anyone else?
Tim Estes, 18317 Osgood Lane, Siloam Springs. They've started my time, so let me get to it. Madam Mayor, distinguished directors, let me first thank you for your service to our community. I personally appreciate all you do and the time you invest. I'm before you this evening in part because I'm blessed to serve as the president of the Siloam Springs Chamber of Commerce, leading a board of incredible business leaders and working with our excellent CEO, Mr. Arthur Holbert, who's out of state this evening with family. Let me share with you some thoughts that may be helpful to myself, to all of us, both this evening and going forward. As you well know, there's no premium on divisiveness in our world. Just as weeds grow exponentially faster than vegetables, so negativism and division can drive a wedge quickly between otherwise mostly agreeable people before goodness gets out of the ground. I'm not suggesting we will ever fully agree on anything, but I am suggesting, even asking, that in all of our disagreement, there should be a thread of civility. Disagreement is partial to the debate and reason. We can disagree without being disagreeable. We need every person, every entity, leaning in to make this city the amazing place we enjoy. I remember a few years ago having a pretty intense conversation on social media with a man whom, at this very moment, we disagree still in terms of values. Seeing our public debate was going south and providing fuel for more unwarranted fire, I invited him to lunch. Surprisingly, he took me up on it. I asked him to share about his thoughts, his family, his passion. And did we become best friends? No. Do we see things eye to eye now? No. But we left that lunch understanding one another better, exempling the idea that people can disagree and continue to hold genuine respect and decency toward one another. Why is this important? Because behind me in the back of the room is a little camera. And through that lens, the world is watching. Our citizens are watching. Other cities are watching. More importantly, moms and dads who are thinking of moving to this city are watching. Major corporate owners who are looking with thoughts of bringing jobs to Siloam Springs are watching. So we can talk about our schools, our hospitals, our parks, all we want to. But if we fail to treat one another with high levels of dignity and respect, and divide into camps and peddle petitions for further division, we can kiss many of these people and their ensuing opportunities goodbye. Who wants to bring their business into an ongoing municipal fray? Nobody. And so I want you to know that I respect each one of you truly. Thank you for the investment of your time and your wisdom in our city. Together, let us strive to set a high bar for equitable treatment of all people, especially those with whom we disagree. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Robin Waits, and my business is at 114 South Broadway. And I have some specific questions about the special meeting on March the 13th. Mayor Nation, are you able to tell us, did you call that special meeting yourself, or was that at the request of a director? And if so, which director requested that meeting? I'd also like to know why the meeting was chosen to be at 3:30 in the afternoon. One of the directors made a comment that, well, if people are upset about things, nobody's here. It's because we were all working. So I would like to ask the board of directors to consider amending the rules that if you're going to have a meeting where the public is allowed to come, that you would please schedule that anytime from 5 p.m. and later so that the public can come. And I also ask that it be amended that you have to give at least 24 hours notice so that we can make plans to attend. Also at that meeting, one of the directors asked for a table of just 1 week of 7 days so that what was being discussed at that meeting could be brought in front of us, the public. There are so many of us here because we're upset because we aren't getting answers from you all. And when you don't let us attend, then even more answers or more questions come up that we want answers to. So I'd like to ask the directors that specifically voted no, could you please explain to us why you voted no to let the public in on this process? Tonight you have the opportunity to defend your votes to not allow public input. You are public servants, and we are here tonight to listen to your replies. I may not be able to stay for the duration to hear your replies, but I will certainly watch on YouTube so that I have the whole thing. Lastly, this is the most disturbing. I have spoken to many people who are afraid to come up and speak in front of this board. What we're doing here is governing. It is not personal. And we, the people, should not be afraid of our leaders. I am concerned about retaliation for my business for standing up here tonight, but the need to speak trumps silence and fear.
Thank you. If I may remind you all, please do not clap or applaud, but I appreciate that you all are here and supporting each other. Yes, sir, if you will come to the podium and give us your name and address.
Kent Wyatt, 1109 East Jewell Street. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. At a previous board meeting, there was some public comment defending some objectionable kids' books available at our library. I heard people say they were passionate about books, freedom of speech, and parental rights. I'm passionate about those things too. But I think when we are willing to sacrifice our children and our young people on those altars, we've lost sight of why those things are important in the first place. I'm a reader and a writer, and I love good books. But it worries me that people hold them more sacred than kids sometimes. If a 34-year-old man was texting your teenager some of the things that I've read in these books, you would be going to the cops, and you would be right to do it. But because a 34-year-old man who has now transitioned to a woman printed them out and bound them in a volume, suddenly it's literature fit for kids? We've got to be smarter than that. One gentleman justified this situation by saying children under 12 could not be in the library unattended. When you go to the theater, there's a sign that says you have to be 17 to watch an R-rated movie by yourself. We've got stuff here that's X-rated. And as that gentleman pointed out, a 13-year-old can walk in off the street by himself and pull it off the shelf. I really suspect requiring young children to be accompanied is about maintaining order. I don't believe the average parent ever imagines that you would need a sign on the library that says, warning, explicit sexual content in the teen section. And they shouldn't have to. I spent over 30 years as a cop. I've interviewed numerous child abusers. I found a lot of people that abuse kids justify themselves by saying they're just showing love to the kids. Because to them, love equals sex. When we read these things in this kind of book, I read some of this, there's the same kind of thinking in some of these books that I've read. In one of these books, the author suggests that he makes it clear that he thinks parents should not have the right to teach their children about normal sexuality. He even jokes about taking such child away and giving it to social services. If you're concerned about parental rights, that ought to concern you. Any person with sense knows that if we don't manage our sexual behavior, it will make a mess of our lives and potentially destroy us. It is not unreasonable for us to expect to be able to monitor carefully how and when our children and young people are exposed to something so important. And we should be able to have the peace of mind that the people our leaders entrust with the matters affecting kids would have that same common sense. This trumps the economy, it trumps infrastructure, everything else. If we don't get this right for our kids, then all the rest of this stuff is just worthless and self-seeking. I know the pressure is great, I know the marketing is slick, but we've got to get this right. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Yes, please come to the podium and give us your name and address.
I'm Gene Lindsay, live at 14708 Oak Crest Drive here in Siloam Springs. I worked at the Los Alamos National Laboratory in Los Alamos, New Mexico for many years, 23 years. We were in search of truth in many areas: cancer research, HIV research, genome research, astronomical research. Research is what makes the sun burn. We researched many things. We were always in search of truth, though. And what we find in those books that Kent just mentioned, they were in the children's library, it's not truth. It turns out to be brainwashing. They're not trying to give them truth related to nature. And in the scientific laboratory, we're always looking for truth related to nature. What we find in those books is not natural. It's unnatural. And I request that we here in this town teach about the truth of nature on all levels.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Jamie. Yes, sir, please give us your name and address.
My name is Cheney Masak, 516 West Magnolia, Siloam Springs, and I'm here because of the LGBTQ books that are put on trial by some of the members of our community. It is important for us to protect the rights of all members of our community, and it is important that we protect the rights of parents to choose what's right for their families. It is important for all members of the community, and we need to protect those that are marginalized, including the LGBTQ. These books in particular have been found objectionable before because discrimination against the LGBTQ is nothing new. These books are also have never been found to be harmful or offensive to children in any court of law. Only a court of law can find them to be so. It is not up to the discretion of a single person to choose what is right for the community, and it is also up to the library's discretion on what they show and what material they provide for the entire community. These books all happen to be written or about the LGBTQ community, and so by taking them out, it could be seen as viewer discretion, which is protected against by the Arkansas Civil Rights Act of 1993, and there are a lot of court and legal precedents to back this up. If we remove them, it is unconstitutional both by Arkansas and federal law. I encourage you to leave it up to the discretion of the library for them to choose what is right for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir. Give us your name and your address, please.
My name is Casey Letelier, 610 East Delaware Street.
Microphone, please. Thank you.
Sure. I have fond memories from when these board meetings were pretty boring, where there was a sense that there was very little politics here, where there was a sense that even though there was disagreement, sometimes significant disagreement, that all of the people sitting up here were working towards the good of Siloam Springs, and that there was usually ways that consensus was found, and that we were working in daylight and working towards the good of this community. So it's disappointing to see what this has come to. Feels like a great deal of sneaking around, firing our super competent city administrator with no cause, at great taxpayer expense, calling the meeting to hire his replacement at a time when no working people can actually be there, and then stacking the committee for replacing him with people who are friends of the people who got rid of him. So, Siloam Springs, now we get to decide what's next. If we let this slide, in the name of civility, in the name of let's move on, this stays with us. We've got more sneaking around incompetence to look forward to. The city isn't going to be able to hire a competent replacement for our city administrator because this is now the reputation we have of a place that is going to undermine someone who has actually performed incredibly competently in his duty. So, if we want to change the course of this, we are going to have to do something dramatic. And I don't intend this to sound uncivil. This is a matter of practicality for if we are going to have a functional board, if we're going to have a functional city, there has to be consequences for the activities that happen here in this board. We deserve better, Siloam Springs. So, my wife and I own a brewery here in town. We have petitions available to recall David Allen and Lisa Resler. We would love you to stop by and sign those. We would like better for Siloam Springs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Your name and address, please, and I will remind you all, please speak into the mic. We do need it for our recording.
I'll have to bend down a little, sorry.
Thank you.
Jordan Howard, 312 South College. I'd like to begin by reminding the board of what some seem to have forgotten, that the state motto of Arkansas is Regnat Populus, which is Latin for the people rule. The people rule. I might also add that this is a sentiment that echoes the very foundations of American democracy. As representatives of the people, You are elected to represent the will of the people, not to advance your own agendas. Any elected representative who ceases to actually represent the people has malfunctioned and forfeits the right to call themselves representative. I believe there are 4 directors of the Siloam Springs City Board that have malfunctioned in this way. Anyone who has paid attention to the city board in the last year can see a troubling pattern which consolidates the power of the few at the expense of the many. Philip Patterson was fired because he was a threat to that power. They found he was not easy to control. And the committee chosen by the board last week to screen applicants for his replacement was done in such a way that made it clear that the board majority had no interest in public input on the process. Perhaps these 4 are under the impression that the small group of people in their own echo chamber are a sample of the community at large. Let me assure you, they are not. If you think that your actions represent the will of the people of this city, you are deluding yourselves. Look around you. This is your community. We see what you're doing, and we're here to hold you accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? State your name and address, please.
Kelsey Howard, 312 South College Street. I'm not even sure where to begin. I have been attending a few of the most recent meetings and have shaken all of your hands. I know that you all, you directors, have a really difficult and stressful job. And I also know that this form of government is special because it spreads out the power, and you all are tasked with the very difficult job of listening, first and foremost, and representing the people in your ward. Some of you who are at large, representing the whole city. That's a difficult task. And I want to echo that true representatives must make that a priority, to listen. I went door to door through our neighborhood just yesterday and the day before, in pursuit of having conversations with my neighbors about this recall effort and to discuss the troubling decisions that have been made lately, especially concerning City Administrator Patterson and about the seemingly just a seemingly a decision to make sure that the public is not able to speak, and therefore that you cannot listen. And it was just an interesting experience going door to door and meeting with my neighbors and having a very civil conversation. And I understand that it can seem like a divisive thing to hold someone accountable, but it also requires a lot of bravery to hold someone accountable. And I'm really proud that I was able to go door to door and have these conversations with my neighbor, with my husband, with my 6-week-old baby, and my 5.5-year-old daughter, who asked, what are we doing? And I told her, I said, we have a responsibility as the members of this community. We have a responsibility to engage, to be civically engaged, to pay attention, to be grateful to our leaders, to be respectful to our leaders, but to make sure that we hold them accountable. So, again, I know that this is a stressful job. I just ask that all of you would remember that your job is to listen and to represent your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Megan Feyerabend, 414 South Wright Street, qualified elector of Ward 4. I yield my 3 minutes to Matthew Feyerabend.
Matthew Feyerabend, 414 South Wright Street, qualified elector, Ward 4. 2 weeks ago at 11 o'clock, when the public had all gone home, Director Allen made a motion to terminate City Administrator Philip Patterson without cause. This was seconded by Lisa Rissler, and then the roll call was taken with David, Lisa, Ken, and Betsy casting the 4 votes to terminate. The next morning, our community was shocked. People were furious and people were troubled. All we knew was that it was without cause, and because of that, it was going to cost the taxpayers $180,000. Had these 4 been planning this, did they discuss this when, according to Facebook posts, they were hanging out at Halloween? Were there other meetings the public doesn't know about? Is this why David and Lisa supported the campaigns of Ken and Betsy? It was, after all, the first day they could legally fire Philip after Ken and Betsy became board members. Was this all because Lisa applied for Philip's job but never got an interview? Based on her comment in the meeting last Monday, it seems that even though that was 8 years ago, she is still upset and no one ever told her why she wasn't hired. Or was it because Lisa, as evidenced in her emails to Philip, wanted to be able to order Philip around without bringing things to the board and before the public? Why is David the only director who refuses to put his personal phone number on the city website? Does he not want to hear from the citizens? And why did David amend the board rules on January 17th of this year to allow any 2 board members to add any item to the agenda during board meetings? Do he and Lisa and Ken and Betsy have some sort of plan to add surprise items to the agenda during meetings that need immediate attention, thus circumventing any notice to the public? There's definitely lots to be concerned about, but there's one thing in particular that I heard over and over again that coincidentally needs immediate attention. And that is the claim that Lisa doesn't even live within city limits. If this is true, it would mean she is not legally a qualified elector per Arkansas Code Section 1448.110. Knowing how to use the internet, I decided to get busy researching public records. I started with the Benton County Assessor's records and found that the residence where Lisa lives and where she is registered to vote has a bit of an odd situation. Her driveway is located in a parcel that is inside the city limits, but her home is in a different parcel that is located entirely outside the city limits. Because of this, I figured it was going to be important for me to compare to other similar homes and properties. So using GIS maps, I slowly worked my way all the way around the perimeter of the city of Siloam Springs. What I found was 7 total addresses, including Lisa's and including the house directly to the west of her, which has an identical property layout as hers. For all 7 of these homes, the home is assigned to a parcel in the county and the driveway is assigned to a parcel in the city. According to the Benton County Assessor, all 7 of these homes pay 0 property taxes to our city, including Lisa's. Having friends who live outside the city limits, who have their utilities provided by our wonderful city utility department, I knew there was something special in the city code relating to those customers. Let me read it for you. City Code 98-66. Each customer of the Siloam Springs Electric Department living outside of the corporate limits of the city of Siloam Springs shall be assessed an additional 10% per month as a surcharge. So I reached out to the city utility department with those 7 addresses. 3 of them are not even customers, but the other 4 were. All of them, including Lisa, are being assessed the surcharge. And I'm going to quote that again. Lisa is being charged the surcharge for living outside of the corporate limits of the city of Siloam Springs. So for all 7 of these addresses, including Lisa's, the county and the city have deemed them to be outside the city limits, and they pay no city taxes on property or utilities. The last question for all 7 of these addresses concerns whether anyone living at any of these homes has the same privilege as Lisa of avoiding paying city property and utility taxes while being allowed to vote in our city elections and hold office. I contacted the Benton County Election Commission with all 7 of those addresses, and between all of them, there are 12 registered voters. From that list of 12, Lisa Marie Rissler and John Good Rissler are the only 2 voters allowed to vote or hold office in the city of Siloam Springs. In fact, they appear to be the only 2 registered voters in our city who do not pay any of our city taxes at their address. The citizens of Siloam Springs deserve a representative who lives inside the city limits and pays the same taxes as them. Based on this information, Lisa, you are not a qualified elector in the city of Siloam Springs, and you should resign your position immediately as you are unlawfully serving as the director of Ward 4 per Arkansas Code Section 1448-110. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, Jason Lanker, 120 South Maxwell. Yeah, I'm pleased to go after Matt. He kind of came here going for the jugular in a sense, but he had a right to be able to express his opinion and his voice in the matters of our city. And I appreciated being able to hear people with opinions about different books.
Yes, thank you.
About different books and just whether it should be or it shouldn't be. Being able to have a voice within a representative democracy is essential to that continuance of that representative democracy. And what stands out to me, and I go back to Tim, just divisiveness happens when there aren't 2 people who are able to sit at the same table. And what this city deserves and what it deserves from you is dialogue. It deserves, as our representatives, to make time and place and space for us to be able to express our differing opinions, to argue with each other, to hold that in balance, and to make decisions that completely disagree with your own decision you would make personally. A decision that represents the people you've been brought to represent. And if we cannot hold that as a board, we won't hold that as a city. You lead us in this way. And so we need people like Matt Feyerabend. And we need people like myself who might find themselves on 2 completely different ends of the spectrum, who are able to have your ear and for you to weigh our experiences and our backgrounds and not to shut us out or to register us in different settings that we don't have an opportunity and a place for you to fulfill the role that we've asked you to fulfill. And that's what I would like to express to this board for us, the city of Siloam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? If not, we will move on to our consent agenda. Item A, special called minutes, March 13th, 2023. Item B, workshop minutes, March 7th, 2023. Item C, regular meeting minutes, March 7, 2023. Item D, dedication of utility easements and right-of-way 2795 and 2831 Waukesha Road. Item E, Resolution 19-23, setting hearing date for easement vacation 3299 Highway 412 East. Item F, 2022 Destruction Affidavit. Directors, is there any item, and I'm sorry, before I move on from that, I did not ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to address any of the items that are on our consent agenda. Thank you. So with that, directors, I will come back to you. Is there any item that you would like to have pulled from this consent agenda for further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can we pull F, please?
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with item F being removed.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call.
Smiley,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen, Carroll,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. We will look at item F, the 2022 Destruction Affidavit. Mindy, you asked that to be pulled?
Yes, we received an email, I believe the whole board received an email from a gentleman who was wanting to see the applications of the city administrator position when when Mr. Patterson filled that 8 years ago. And I know on this destruction affidavit motion here that employment applications are one of the things to be destroyed, anything prior to 2021. So do we still have those applications that we can provide? I know that's public information. Do we still have that information from 8 years ago, or was that already destroyed in a previous?
That has been destroyed.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to approve item F?
So moved.
Well, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Are we not going to remove that so that that question can be answered? I think it's a great question.
Mindy?
Well, it sounds like the employment applications that the gentleman wanted from 8 years ago have already been destroyed.
I believe that Christina said that they had been
Right.
a previous destruction order, David, so. that would be
Now,
gone.
going forward, we may not want these destroyed.
Do we know how far back we do have?
Is Misty here?
She's not here.
I think applications are kept for a year if they're not hired, and if they are, they're kept for 3 years past termination.
Correct.
Only 1 year
If they're not hired, yes.
And my question was specifically about whether we still had the ones from 8 years ago. This is what reminded me of that. So
Okay.
I don't know if we want to continue destroying the applications as quickly.
That is certainly at the board's discretion. Would you like to table this item until our next regular scheduled meeting to get information?
To get
about that?
clarification?
Yes?
Yes, I think so. So I will move that we table the discussion regarding destructions of documents until our next meeting.
Okay, so I have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Motion is approved. I would ask if you have specific directions for,
I think the first thing we need to know is just how the applications that we have on file now, how far back do they go? And then we probably need to decide as a board how long we need to keep them going forward.
okay, thank you. Everyone agree with that?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If it's just the applications and employment applications, what about the remaining material that she wants destroyed?
The personnel records?
No,
Is that what you're talking about?
anything that has to do with personnel, but there are some other things, I believe,
On this list
yes,
for
that
destruction?
has nothing to do with personnel.
I'm sorry.
But if we table this, it will all be brought back to
Okay,
us at the
that's
next
fine.
regular meeting. Everyone in agreement with that? It's already passed, right? Okay, so motion has been approved. Christina, you have what you need for moving forward?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next will be our regularly scheduled items. No, I take it back. This is an amendment. So we have next, item G, which is contracts and approval. Approve the job posting for city administrator position.
Did we vote to table?
Yes, sir, we did. Did we not?
Okay, I thought there
Yeah.
was discussion before the,
Yes, sir. So
Mayor?
with that, Christina?
Mayor, members of the board, the screening committee appointed by the board met last Thursday. Director Rissler will update the board on their activities during our director comments. But before you is a request for the board to approve the posting of the position. The committee reviewed the draft of the notice of job opening and where the notice would be posted. Staff's available for questions.
Okay. So this is strictly just giving you permission to post the job, and these are the places that they would like to have them posted. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay. So directors, hearing that, and I think you all received a copy of this. Do you have any questions or comments at this time about this posting?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mindy.
this question isn't necessarily about the posting, but it's in relation to what we've been discussing, some of what we've heard from the public tonight.
Okay, so I
So
will
I'm-
tell you.
I'm not, okay.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is
Well,
only
okay, my
strictly about-
question is, are we going to have a chance to respond to any of the questions that we were asked tonight?
During your director's report, you
okay.
may do that. Yes, ma'am.
That was my question. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has a question? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this posting? If not, I will come back to the board and ask you, if you have no further comments or questions, do I have a motion to approve the job posting for city administrator position?
So move.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Hunt.
Yes.
Chrysler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next is our ordinances. This will now be item H, Ordinance 23-03, third reading, amending Chapter 22 of the Business Code for mobile food vending. And Megan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hold on 1 second. This is to set the, This is the third reading as amended of the Mobile Food Vendors Code Amendment. Staff has not received any additional comments or questions from the public, and staff recommends approval of the presented ordinance as amended, and staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. So directors, do you have, yes? That's
Madam
it.
Mayor?
Yes.
Well, and this is more, if there's anybody from the mobile food vendors here tonight, there have been before, so I'd like to hear if they're good with everything.
And they will have an opportunity to do that? Yes, ma'am. Is there any other questions from the board? If not, then I will ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment about this, especially if you have a mobile food truck. If you have questions or comments at this time? If not, then we will come back to the board for any further comments or questions about this particular item. If not, do I have a motion to approve Ordinance 23-03, placing it on the third reading, suspending the rules, and reading title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Chrysler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Christina?
Ordinance number 23-03, an ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the Municipal Code with respect to mobile food vending.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt Ordinance 23-03?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve and adopt. Roll call.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Chrysler.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Ordinance 23-03 is adopted. Next is item I, Ordinance 23-05, second reading, amending City Municipal Code, Chapter 102, zoning, self-storage facilities. Megan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. This is the second reading of a code amendment for Section 102-21 of the Municipal Code. As a reminder, you are considering a zoning code update to require self-storage facilities to be a use by right in industrial zoning districts and a special use within C2 zoning districts. This change does not impact any applications that are currently under review. There have been no comments received of this change, and staff and planning commission are still recommending approval of this ordinance, and staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Directors, comments or questions? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address Ordinance 2305? If not, directors, do I have a motion to approve to place Ordinance 2305 on its second reading, suspending the rules and reading title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next, item J, Ordinance 23-06, second reading, amending Section 102-21 of the City Municipal Code, rezoning from I-1 to PD, the 21,000 block of South Arkansas Highway 16.
Mayor,
I'm sorry?
may I read?
Yes, you may. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you. Ordinance number 23-05, an ordinance amending Chapter 102 of the Municipal Code with respect to consumer self-storage facilities.
Thank you, Christina. Megan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the second reading for a rezoning request located at the 21,000 block of Highway 16. As a reminder, the request is to rezone the 1.8 acre southern strip of land to PD in order to match the current zoning of the primary lot. The I-1 zoning remained on the strip of land when the primary lot was enlarged previously with a lot line adjustment. Since last reading, staff has received no additional questions or comments, and staff and planning commission have still recommended approval. As presented, staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Directors? Questions or
Mayor,
comments? Yes.
Do we have
Reed.
anyone from Soft 16 Investments in the room? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Carol.
I would just like to know what the staff is proposing, if there's any that we need for Highway 16. Because I think there's going to be more traffic if there's going to be homes. I don't know that that's what it's going to be, but
Don, can you answer that for us?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Don Clark, Community Development Director. If you could ask the question again to make sure I answer you correctly.
is there anything proposed to take care of the traffic that might be coming on Highway 16 and 412, especially at that intersection where Arvest is?
Yep, it's a great question. We just received notification from RDOT just last week that we meet the criteria for their intersection improvement. So staff is underway of getting those documents put together to bring forward to you in the next meeting or so for you to consider that. It will be a grant with them covering some, and the rest would be on the city. We are going to discuss with them, since they're both state highways, see if we can get a little bit more help than what they're proposing. But nonetheless, yes, we're working on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Isn't this the property that we talked last week? Director Risser brought up a possibility of a road going through there, if there was a possibility of that at some point to alleviate some of that traffic. Is this not the one we were talking about then?
Yes, you're correct. I think we were talking about Quarter Road. City engineer Kevin Moore at that meeting stated that that was on a list of projects that was brought to the board with some ideas of potentially ways to fund those. It's not currently on our list. It can be added. Obviously, it's the pleasure of the board for us to get that design and built.
I think the thought was that would alleviate some of the traffic because they could go either way out of that neighborhood as opposed to all going out onto 16, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to Ordinance 23-06? If not, Board, I will come back to you. Yes, Betsy?
Mayor, wasn't Keck Road also in the discussion last week, including Quarter Road? So maybe that might be looked into.
I'm sorry, what was?
The Keck Road as
Keck
well
Road,
as
yes.
Quarter Road.
Gotcha.
That maybe that might end up needing to be a priority because of all the housing going in.
And I will ask staff to.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Just a second here. I believe on the east side of 16 is Keck. I think as it extends across, it might be Quarter Road. So that's why we're talking about Quarter Road. Keck is on the east side. Keck is at this point unimproved. There's no current plans to update that as it is a county road at this time on the east side of Highway 16.
Thank you.
And,
Welcome.
and that was I was going to ask you that. Isn't Keck Road a county road, or part of it is a county road?
On the east side of Highway 16 is Keck. I think, Megan, do we have the draft for what we're looking at? And I can just pull it up to make sure. Show it.
Are you trying to look at Dogwood?
No, just trying to look at, yeah, Dogwood
You're
Place.
trying to look at Dogwood?
Is it in here?
You have to know it's not on this PowerPoint because it's not part of this presentation.
Yep.
But I think they should be improving Keck Road with the Dogwood Place SDP, a portion of it.
Order. So we can confirm, and at the next meeting, I'll ask City Engineer Kevin Moore to speak specifically to those streets and make sure we have that underway. Either way, whatever's decided and what the board thinks is important, we can put that, we can move that priority if need be.
I think that would be good. I think the board would really like to see kind of what you all are thinking and what there is available and possible for them. So
Absolutely.
if you would do that by our next meeting, that'd be great. Would that be possible?
Yeah, we could do that.
Thank you, Don.
All right, thank you.
So is there anyone in the audience that has questions or comments about this, now that we've brought up a little more information? If not, directors, do I have a motion to place ordinance 23-06 on its second reading, suspending the rules and reading title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Blair,
Yes.
Miley,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Christina?
Ordinance number 23-06, an ordinance amending section 102-21 of the Siloam Springs Municipal Code, city zoning map, rezoning from I-1 to PD, property located at the 21,000 block of Arkansas Highway 16.
Thank you. Next is item K, ordinance 23-07. This will be the first reading, annexation of 18.47 acres at 2270 Don Hill Road. And Megan, once again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an annexation request to annex approximately 18.47 acres located at 2270 Don Hill Road into the city. The applicant is requesting to annex the property in as R2 residential medium zoning. The map on the screen indicates the location of the 18.47 acres proposed to be annexed in as R2. As you can see, the property sits to the west of Don Hill Road. The future land use map describes this property as Neighborhoods 1, which is intended to provide locations for single-family residential housing. Therefore, the requested R2 zoning district is in line with the intent of the future land use map. And this is the overall site view of the property. As you can see, this property is surrounded primarily by residential uses, with the exception of the church to the southeast over here. You can see we have the Autumn Glen subdivision over here to the south as well, and Heritage Ranch under construction here to the west. It should be noted the site is part of the planned extension for the Heritage Ranch subdivision, and there is an associated preliminary plat to plat phase 4 and 5 of the Heritage Ranch subdivision on this site, and that will be presented to the board at the April 4th board meeting. Staff is recommending approval of this request with no needed conditions, and staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Directors, comments or questions on ordinance 23-07? There is not. Is there anyone in the audience that has a comment or question on this ordinance? Directors, back to you. Still no questions or comments on the annexation? If not, do I have a motion to place ordinance 23-07 on its first reading, suspending the rules, reading title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Smiley.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Christina?
Ordinance number 23-07, an ordinance accepting the annexation of certain territory described as 2270 Don Hill Road to the city of Siloam Springs, Arkansas, and assigning same to a ward.
Thank you. With that, we move on to the staff reports. So Christina, back to you.
February sales tax receipts for the city is up 1.8% for the month of February and 3.4% year to date. For the county, it is up 5% for the month and 8% year to date. There are 4 expenditures exceeding $30,000. The A-Winds annual maintenance by Motorola Services for $30,583.35. 4-inch PVC pipe in 20-foot sections for inventory for $42,338.20. Sodium hypochlorite for the water treatment plant, $42,840. And 2-inch PVC pipe in 20-foot sections for $46,098.20. There are 6 items to report per Resolution 43-22. 7,500 feet of 750 ERD EPR primary wire for $88,305. 5,000 feet of 1,000 ERD EPR primary wire, $75,385. 17 25 kVA pad mount transformers for $97,807.50. 10 250 kVA pad mount transformers for $95,860. 30 37.5 kVA pad mount transformers for $95,550. And 260 AMI water meters for $99,840. Regarding the screening committee, Arthur Holbert has rescinded his acceptance of the appointment to the city administrator's screening committee. So would the board like to appoint another member for the committee?
Directors?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Carla Wasson to replace Arthur Holbert.
We have a motion to replace Arthur Holbert with Carla Watson, who is an attorney here in Siloam Springs. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place Carla as the new member of the screening committee.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mindy.
do we need to just go with one name? Can we bring up other names as possibilities?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Even now that we've got the motion on the table and seconded?
My understanding is that yes, you can. Yes,
Okay.
Jay is saying yes, you can.
I've not talked with this person, but I would like to nominate Tammy Engel, if possible.
Tammy Engel?
She is here, and she's nodding her head no. Okay.
She has refused that, is that correct?
Okay. But thank you for considering.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Read.
I'd like to reiterate the name of Chris Blair.
Who is our hospital administrator.
Yes.
You have a motion for that. Do I have a second for that?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, regarding this, I understand that at our last meeting, we voted on 5 fully functioning members of this committee. And my understanding since then is that Director Rissler has stepped back as a fully functional member. Is that correct or no? So you are still reviewing all of the applications and...
Okay, we haven't received any, so we're not reviewing
But
them.
my understanding was that you had decided not to...
So this is what happened. Well, go ahead, I'm gonna let Christine.
What I was going to say was, I was going to ask the board, because she has to have the board permission to do that.
Okay.
And we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
So, but I would like to explain, it's not stepping away. What it was is after the meeting, and anybody that watched the Monday meeting, I was put on the spot. And so that day after the meeting, I looked for Christine. I couldn't find her because she was in HR and I don't have access back there. And so the next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, I came to City Hall. I was a little late because my mailbox was hit. But I came to Christina and I explained to her that the role I would like to request, and if if you guys don't approve of this, then I guess I'll fully be on it. The request was that I break ties and that I answer all, and there was lots of questions, Christina could tell you, there was lots of questions I answered at the last meeting, that I answer questions and I break ties. And I do not see the applications. If there's a tie, I still do not see the applicant's name. I see applicant A, applicant B, and I make a decision based off of qualifications only. And if the board doesn't want to do that, then I guess I'll be I'll be a voting. But otherwise, I thought that was a common ground, that I was there to answer all questions. And I answered a lot of questions this last week.
Okay. Right. And I understand that. I didn't know that you were willing to be a fully functional member. I thought if you weren't, then we probably needed to get a 5th fully functional member of the committee, which would mean we would need to nominate 2 tonight.
But no, I would be the 5th member, but I would still be able to vote without seeing applicant names.
Okay, so at this point in time, I think we need to first address the motions that we have for putting another member on the screening committee. So we will address that first. Then directors will come back to you to address Lisa's request. So, first motion is to appoint Carla Wasson to the screening committee. We will ask for a roll call vote.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
No.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
No.
Blair.
Yes.
Miley.
So by a vote of 4-3, Carla Wasson is appointed to the screening committee. At this time, we will consider the request from Director Rissler. Directors, do all of you understand the request that she has made?
State the request again, please.
So instead of me looking at all the resumes and seeing their names and everything, I'm there to answer questions and we had questions about how this works, the process works. And then I would break a tie. So if there's 4 of them that are voting, I would vote to break a tie, but I would not see applicant names. So I'm just seeing qualifications and qualifications only. Either way, I mean, I could either do that to be fair, or I can be a full member. I mean, I'm trying to make a middle ground here.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, David.
I will report that I heard from the committee, and they were all pleased that a board member was part of the committee in order to answer questions and give them input of how things work, which of course was contrary to so many opinions here. And so that was encouraging to know that they felt that way.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Reed.
I have not heard from the committee, and if they're going to be giving reports, I'd like to be part of that, please.
So the committee asked if I would give the reports during my director's comments, because I did. That's the first thing I said is, would one of you guys be interested? And the comment was, well, it's better that you explain.
Basically, they said, you're already at the board meeting.
So my understanding is from that, then you will be giving, each time you have a screening committee meeting, you will be coming back to this board with a report on how that is progressing and what they have.
And so what I did is I wrote it up ahead of time, sent them an email, and then asked them, take away, add, do whatever you want said in there. And so that's how it was. So I'm communicating their words, not my words.
So you're bringing from the committee after you've talked to them?
Yes.
Is basically what you're doing?
Mhm.
Okay. So,
Madam Mayor,
yes, Reed.
just as example, if let's say they meet tomorrow, then it's going to be a while before the next board meeting where you would inform us. Is there a way we can be informed a little bit earlier than that?
If you request, I don't mind emailing them after they approve what I send them.
Okay, I would like that, please.
Yeah. No.
So let me ask for clarification. If she is going to email that, does she not need to email that to you and that you send that to the board?
Yes.
Rather than it coming directly from her, is my
Yes.
understanding, right?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
So, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just to clarify, when the interim administrator is sending out her reports to the board, then she would include what Lisa is stating.
That is correct.
That
That is my
transpired in
understanding.
the committee. Okay.
That is correct,
All
just
right.
as it is now. The emails to the board must come through
Right.
the administrator.
Okay.
So, having that in mind, I would then go to each one of you and just let you give your yes or no for that change that Lisa is requesting. So Mindy, are you?
I guess I don't have a huge preference one way or the other, so I guess I understand that you were trying to come to middle ground. My understanding was that we were voting on 5 fully functional members.
Fine with that role. I'm just trying to.
But I'd like to see what the other board members think about that. I'm okay with that. I'd like to see what the other board members think about that as well.
Ken?
Yeah, I'd be fine with honoring her wishes.
Okay. Betsy?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. As long as you're getting your reports.
Right. And I understand the desire to be the middle ground and the not, and having names redacted and.
Reed?
I'm good with that. I just want to see that we follow due process.
Thank you. Carol?
I would reiterate the same thing. I'm fine with that, but due process.
Thank you. David?
I'm fine with that. I will reiterate, this is not a selection committee. This is a screening committee. There, as far as I know, is not going to be voting, but decision-making as a group, and they will be presenting those to the board. It could be up to 10 as far as we know. We have no idea, but As Carol made clear in the special meeting, we should have access to all applicants, and we will. So just because this committee will screen it down to whatever number they wish to present, we can still look at all the applicants. So I'm completely fine with what Lisa wishes to do.
So Christina, you are good with that? Is that all you need as far as that committee goes?
That's all I needed as far as that.
Okay.
And he's correct. This is something that they're going to just screen, make a recommendation, but everything will come to the board.
Okay, thank you. Is that all of your report?
One last thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to remind everyone that the library is closing the first week of April. They're changing out the main software, which will disrupt the ability to effectively serve patrons. And staff was going to use that time to do some collections maintenance, deep cleaning, and training.
That it?
That is all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Carol.
Was there a copy of your administrator's agenda? I mean, what you were reading off of? Because normally we had something to follow from, and I didn't see one at my desk. I would like to get a copy of what you were proposing and because I didn't have time to write down all the dollars and everything. So if I could get a copy of that, I'd appreciate it.
I will
Thank
send
you.
that out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Madam Mayor, is there any way we could do the executive session and then come back to the director's reports?
We can absolutely change the order. It does require 2 directors to approve that. So if you are requesting that, do I have a...
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I think some individuals in the room here may want to hear some directors' reports.
Yes, Madam Mayor,
they don't have to
please.
wait until after
I'm not
executive session.
I don't understand why they would not stay for the executive session as well.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Carol.
Sometimes those executive sessions do last a long time, and I don't think that's fair to all of the citizens that are here sitting to wait for that length of time, and I think we should just go ahead with the way our agenda is.
I concur.
I don't know me.
Then we will move on to our director's reports. On Mindy, we will start with you. And David, we will end with you. And as you know, just don't ask for a motion to adjourn, please, sir. Mindy?
Okay, thank you. First, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. It does mean a lot that you all took time out of your schedules to come and listen to us, let us listen to you, express your concerns. I do appreciate your being here, and I do think we have people from all backgrounds, all walks of life, all beliefs, all values, everyone here on both sides of everything, and I just appreciate everyone being here, so thank you. I had to write some of this down, and I've tweaked and I've prayed and I've tweaked and I prayed over the last week. So I'm going to read this to you, so bear with me. At our special called meeting on March 13th, one of the directors said, "I just want this over with. This is stressful, whether people think it is or not, whether you believe it or not. I want our city moving forward. Only the people that are sitting up here know the truth of everything, and so I am just ready for us to move forward and to work together." That was one of the other directors. I do agree with this sentiment, that this has been stressful and that we need to continue moving forward. But I can't say with 100% certainty that I know the truth of everything. I know what was stated in the executive session, but in my opinion, none of the things shared were fireable offenses. As recently as November, we evaluated Philip as a board and unanimously agreed to continue his employment. Since then, board members have commended Philip for his work. Some of the exact quotes made by board members during director's reports since December include: Philip was praised for securing funding for water plant upgrades to the American Rescue Plan, which provided for federal tax dollars to be applied toward the water plant upgrade, thus lowering the amount of money owed by the city. On December 20th, Philip was thanked for getting the PSAP signature. The board member who thanked him called it one of his biggest accomplishments of the year and acknowledged that he really went to bat for the city in what was a long fight with the state and other cities. On January 3rd, Philip was thanked for reacting so quickly to concerns from Zumba participants that classes were going to be cut from 2 days to 1 day per week. This board member expressed appreciation for Philip and staff for making sure Zumba remained at 2 times per week. This board member also expressed appreciation for Philip knowing right away how to deal with a situation involving a city employee that some in the city felt had not been treated very well. On February 21st, Philip was thanked for all the research and hard work he did on the broadband issue. Let's see. This board has talked a great deal about wanting to be transparent, including on January 17 when concerns about changes in board policies were addressed by one board member who assured citizens that the changes were practical applications simply for transparency and informing the board and the public. Citizens have been begging us for an explanation as to why we fired Philip Patterson. In response, we've said we can't discuss what was discussed in an executive session, or we can't discuss personnel issues. It's left citizens thinking that either we did something very wrong in the way we handled the termination and or that Philip Patterson did something very wrong. By virtue of the fact that we terminated him without cause and that 3 voted against the termination, I feel confident in saying that Philip Patterson did nothing to deserve the termination. I'm not as confident in how we handled the termination, and I don't blame citizens for having questions and being upset. In addition to the questions about why Philip was fired, I've heard from many citizens, including city employees, who very much appreciated his work and don't understand why we would fire someone who has done so many good things for our town. One city employee said, "This has been a time of mourning, not of joy for the employees." 5 to 30 citizens who have personally reached out to me, only one has agreed with the decision to terminate. To say I know the truth of why he was fired implies I somehow agreed that there was some reason, and yet the motion to terminate and abide by the terms of the contract, which states that the city administrator gets a full year's severance if fired without cause, is in itself suggesting there was not a cause. As I've already stated publicly and voted accordingly, I had full confidence in Philip Patterson's ability as our city administrator. So what is the truth? In my opinion, we owe it to the citizens, and we owe it to Philip Patterson to provide more of an explanation. I've also been asked by several if the board has an agenda. When I ran in 2018 and again in 2022, I made it clear that I personally do not have an agenda other than to do what city councils typically do, which is to improve streets, to fix drainage issues, to provide suitable housing for all, to increase economic development opportunities. So if there's an agenda, I don't know what it is. If there is, I think we need to know what it is, and I think our citizens need to know what it is. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for expressing your concerns, whatever they were. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mindy. Ken?
Well, I too appreciate everybody being here. Tim Estes, I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. There were some things said tonight that I know people are passionate about what they believe and what they stand for, and that's wonderful. I mean, we all are, or we wouldn't be here. A couple of things, comments were made that this board does not listen to the citizens of this town, and that is entirely false. For everybody here stating their disapproval, I can show you, well, I can't always, but I mean, for everyone that commented to me about the disapproval of what happened, I have been contacted with comments of approval for what has happened, okay? The thing that bothers me, I guess, is personal attacks get nowhere. And as Tim stated, that is what drives a wedge between peoples. I received many calls, texts, emails over what has happened that led to some form of an attack against myself, my integrity, my intelligence, whatever you want. And I've even reached out to numerous people to meet face to face to discuss the issues as best I can with no takers. It seems like people like to yell and scream to make noise, but when it comes down to having an adult conversation about differences, that's not possible. And that's sad, and I wish was not the case. But
there are things on both sides. And I'm just asking, I guess, that before you make a comment, before you pass judgment, you do your research and you ask the questions. So you will be well informed and you will know as much as you can know about what is going on, has gone on, will go on. And not just make rash judgments and personal attacks against people who are trying to do their best to lead the city in a positive direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Betsy?
I'm going to take advantage of the fact there are a lot of people here and share the things I like to share about first, and then I will address the other things. But I will say my agenda, which I'm happy to share with anybody, is to work on drainage, to work on streets, to work on all the things I campaigned on. And like I've told many people, since we did vote to become a pro-life city, I have a soft spot for people with disabilities and elderly people. So I like to use director's comments to let people know what's available out there. And one of the things I've started sharing recently is the senior center. You have to be 60 years or older. They provide lunch for $4. They ask that you get there at 11:45, 11:50. They have a taxi service similar to the city does. They have, they ask for 24-hour notice, and rides are $2.50. They do outings every week. Like this outing is a trip to the Blue Zoo in Rogers. They also, at the center, they have pool tables. They have a pool table. They have watercolor classes, painting classes, exercise machines, all kinds of things. And since COVID, they have not been getting the use of their facilities like they used to. So I'm trying to let people know what's out there. It's a great way to socialize and be around other people. On Tuesdays, they do gospel singing, which, according to them, is a favorite of everyone's. So I think, okay, so drainage is an issue throughout the city. And so anybody who's here or anybody who's listening, if you would email and let the board know if you have a problem. We are trying to get things addressed, and there are a lot of issues out there. I saw that there is a Brentwood project, which that's the worst neighborhood for the flooding in the city. I would like to see if the Brentwood project could be moved up. Those are, one gentleman there has to put out sandbags on days like this. So I would like for it to be moved further up on the list, if at all possible. Detention and retention ponds, we have almost 100, and they have not been, a lot of them are not being maintained properly. I'd like to see about addressing that as soon as possible. This is actually your ward, and I know you were familiar with it, but like Whippoorwill and some of those that have the concrete streets, hopefully that's being addressed. Those are pretty horrible. Okay. I looked at the list and didn't see them, so you might follow up on that. Thank you.
Patterson, that was going to be taken care of.
Okay. Maybe I overlooked it. So, yes, but please do let us know if anybody's having drainage issues of any kind with the rain. That this is a good time to say. As far as the other issues, somebody said, I don't usually address rumors, but somebody said that we had a secret meeting on Halloween, or we were all together. Yeah, that's impressive, because I was flying back from Colorado, seeing my godparents, flying into Tulsa, so I'm not sure. I guess I missed this secret meeting. You know, as far as cause, I did vote for cause, but it's not my decision alone. I've heard from citizens and employees. I've had people thank me. There are two sides, and everybody has different sides. And so there are sides other people have seen that have had issues. Just like there are a lot of people here feel one way, there are a lot of other citizens who feel very differently and have very different stories to tell, and employees who have very different stories to tell. And just because they don't go to every director doesn't mean that it isn't true. People, when they have a problem, don't necessarily trust everyone to deal with it, or have a fear of retaliation. So, yeah, and I will say this, the first 6 months, and I've said this to others, I do not understand, and so maybe board members who were on the board who okayed the contract, where no matter how Mr. Patterson left, if he resigned, he was fired, he retired, he died, he left under nefarious circumstances, no matter what, he would get 6 months' salary and full benefits. I've never seen a contract quite like that. To me, that is a waste of money. And yeah, so I think some of y'all who are upset, you have the previous board to thank for a contract like that. I don't get it. And as far as the second 6 months, like I said, I voted for cause. So, and I am happy to discuss as much as I can. I've tried to answer every email I've gotten. And I have no agenda, no secret agenda. I'm very clear. I'd be happy to send you my agenda. I've sent it to several people. So, I think that's it, except for whatever I may have forgotten. So.
Thank you, Betsy. Lisa?
So I'm going to start with the committee information. On Thursday, March 16th, the selection committee held its first meeting. Those who were in attendance included Jonathan Barnett, David Jackson from Simmons Foods, Randy Torres, Christina Patrice, Misty McLaughlin, sorry if I smeared your name, and myself. We reviewed the job posting announcement and publications utilized to advertise. We also discussed the benefits and job description to get a comprehensive look at the position. It was a great meeting. Each member identified specific areas that they would like to make sure we focus on. These areas include citizens, employees, and city board of directors. Discussions included discovering which attributes each of these groups would like to see reflected in the applicant screening process. This was a great first step in moving forward. After the meeting, City Attorney Jay Williams identified that the committee cannot eliminate applicants, but can score and interview them to present to the board of directors. So that was what they wished to be said. As far as my address, I will deal with that. I contacted the county. So I found out after I was elected the first time that there was citizens that were concerned that I was not living in city limits. So I contacted the county, and they verified, yes, you're living in city limits. So it came time to run again. So I, this time, sent an email to the county and the state, and I said, are you sure I am legally able to run for position, Ward 4 position? And I have it in writing that I am legally able to run for Ward 4 position. So that's where I stand on that. I will not speak anything that causes any more division. We need to move forward and move forward peacefully.
Thank you, Lisa. Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, Christina, thank you for the service you're doing as interim. It's a position that you probably didn't wake up one morning saying, boy, I wish I could have that. A Concerning Philip Patterson, I still believe that he did a very fine job, and I have full faith and confidence in his abilities. There was legal right to let him go, but even with that, I feel like due process was not followed. There was no discipline involved with it, no suspension. We didn't even say go home for the day. It was just, we gave him a good report, and then a couple of months later, he's gone. And I'm not sure that, well, I am sure. That's not how I believe it should be done. I think there should be a due process with that, and to keep the public informed with it. But my word for the day is apathy. And the reason I chose that word is because this is not a time for it. I do strongly believe that we need to engage. We need to do this with tremendous respect. And I'm not even saying choose a side. I'm just saying when you have a passion, something you believe in, and that being our community, be involved with it. This is not a time to sit at home saying, well, somebody else is going to take care of that. This is our time for you to be that somebody else. And it's going to take all of us. Not to throw harsh words and negativity, but to band together and be the wonderful, awesome community of Siloam Springs. The one that I just read about was one of the 7 best places to visit in the state of Arkansas. Well, let's be that. And not wait for someone else to take that position. But we can do that, and we can join arms with our neighbors, our friends, our family, and we can enjoy this town, enjoy wonderful infrastructure, quality of life. We have businesses coming in. We have good business. There's so much. I just ask that we enjoy it, but also be a part of it and not sit back. Let's be proactive with this. And also, lastly, I pride myself on being early so I get a good parking spot. Thank you all for proving me wrong tonight. I think I'm over at Simmons parking lot over there. I'll have to talk to David Jackson and see if I get a ticket or not, but I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for your concern for our community.
Thank you, Reed. Carol?
I appreciate the citizens coming out to speak. Whatever side you're on, we need to take action and be observant of what our government is doing. But I still, when I walk in here, I am shocked that our city administrator is not here. Especially when during that same meeting night, a workshop on the community survey shows an above average rating for Siloam Springs. And that was not just because of the board, that was because of our city administrator that we received that rating. I have had many emails, texts, phone calls in support of Mr. Patterson. I have had one that was not in support. Just one. Now, I would also like to recognize Steve Gorsuch and his staff because the water treatment plant was recognized at the 2023 Engineering Excellence Awards, and they received an award, and I think that's very important, and I think he should be recognized for that. We have a very good city. We are going to continue to move forward and do the very best that we can. We are all up here wanting the best for our community, and I know you do too, or you wouldn't be here, and I appreciate that very much. The fire department also has an online survey that I would encourage the citizens to go out and participate in, fill out. It doesn't take very long to do that, and it gives the fire department a way to figure out what they need to improve or what they're doing really good. You can tell them that. I am still in support of Mr. Patterson. I'm sorry that other people don't feel that way, but I probably worked with him the longest of anybody on this board. And nobody's perfect. I never had a problem when I asked him if a citizen came to me and needed something done, I would contact him and it would be done immediately. And I want the citizens to know that he cared about you. He cared about this city. He had a passion for this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to ask our city attorney, Jay, would you please research the comments that Blake Jones made at the beginning and get back to the board on what he brought up? I heard several people here tonight speak about the library books. I wanted to state that, as far as I know, not a single city board member influenced or told Mr. Patterson what to do on those books. I know I did not, and I believe all the board members did not. His solution and plan was his own, and he presented it, and his solution was to have this board choose all future library book purchases. All. Is that something that is this board supposed to decide, is this World War II book good to be purchased? That was not a very good option, in my opinion, for us to be the deciders of all library books. I go back to saying, why do we have a librarian? That's the librarian's job. So I just wanted to clear up something that seems to have gotten really, really distended. I will also say that Director Hunt is wrong. We did not approve continuing Mr. Patterson's employment last year. We voted to give him the same raise that we gave all employees, and I tell you why. Mr. Patterson had basically a lifetime contract. He could be terminated, he could resign or retire, or it ended with death. That was it. There was no 3-year, there was no 5-year, there was no 10-year. And the way I have heard many of these board members talk, I believe they did think he would be here for life or until he decided. There was nothing that could go wrong. So the discussion that goes on about he got all these glowing reviews, we did all of this, that's not true. Not all board members gave him glowing reviews. So for anyone to say that everything was unicorns and butterflies, that's untrue. Many things I put in the review my first year here completely got ignored for an entire year. I will state that the board rules that have been claimed to be nefarious and all changing to benefit this board, they were taking back board responsibilities by state law that Mr. Patterson had over years taken over to himself, and it had been approved by the board, but it wasn't by state law that they resorted in his responsibility. That is what occurred at the beginning of the year. There's no subterfuge, there's no hidden secret agenda. The board rules state each board member does represent all citizens. Wards are elected, that's right, from within the ward, but they do not only represent the people in that ward. They represent all the citizens. We do not, and this is specifically in our board rules, represent special interest groups. A great deal of public comment tonight, especially from Mr. Feyerabend, was blatantly false. But unless it's questioned, it will be accepted as true. I know a lot of this began with the debacle of what occurred in December, January, and February, the overstep regarding Main Street, and the amount of people that showed up in anger and frustration. I remember years ago there was about 10 or 12 different organizations that this city helped fund their budget. Youth baseball, many others. Library before it became a department. Museum never got an increase the entire time until this last year. But when there was a space of time that I was off the board, and I'll just say it, not paying attention, the Sager Creek Arts Center got cut. All of its funding from the city. And it had been funded for quite some time. And I will venture to say the Sager Creek Arts Center contributed to every member of this community. Offered participation, offered different types of art, different types of musical and play production. And there was no ruckus, rise up, argument, screaming anger at that cut in Sager Creek's funding. I guess the old adage of the squeaky wheel gets the grease is true, but it doesn't make it right when there's intimidation, when there's threats, when there's concerted falsehoods and lies. I can tell you right now, Lisa Rissler never applied for the city administrator position. That's an out falsehood. I don't know why anyone would ever think that or spread it around that she had some ulterior motive. That's nonsense. And I can assure you the other stupid rumor I hear going around that I want to be mayor. Let me tell you, folks, I was mayor. I chose not to run again. I did not enjoy that job. If I wanted to be mayor, I would have run a second time. I don't have any desire to be mayor, period. So for anybody to be spelling that out, it's just pure D, false, and nonsense. We have a great mayor. I have said it. I encouraged Judy to run when I decided not to run. I was very glad when she decided this time to run. I think she's done an amazing job. Most certainly an improvement. And I really am glad that she is doing it. And she's doing it fairly. This board did not approve the contract for Philip Patterson. With the one exception, Director Smiley. She was on the board at the time to approve the contract with Director Patterson, with Administrator Patterson. Three of your board members were not on here when the amendment was made to double his severance by Director Bob Coleman. So that was from 6 months that he could work and he could resign the next day and be paid an additional 6 months, benefits, pay, everything. That was his original contract. And I can assure you, with all the experience I've had with writing contracts for CEOs and management, I've never seen anything like that in my life. The amended contract was during 2020 when I was running against Director Coleman and Nathaniel Stone was running against Director Smiley, and they suddenly worried they might lose control of the board that supported Mr. Patterson on everything he wanted to do. So they decided to go into executive session and double his severance. That is also the very same time that the state law just conveniently got to be changed to disallow the will of the people, to disallow a city administrator from being fired within the first 60 days of new board members. Now, why would that happen in 2020? We are one of only 2 cities in the entire state that have a city administrator form of government, Fort Smith being the other. Mr. Patterson was on the executive committee of Arkansas Municipal League. The executive committee decides pay, raises, etc. for AML officers. The AML is basically who helps write state law regarding municipalities. So tell me why in that same year there was a state law changed that I believe would have become unconstitutional, would have been declared unconstitutional if it was ever challenged, because you cannot take away the will of the people. And if the will of the people is to vote new board members in order to fire someone, then that's the will of the people. How do you prevent for 60 days the will of the people happening? City administrator is not a protected class. That was done to take away the rights of the people to put new people in these seats to make a change. That's a fact. So you want to talk about secrets and things going on behind the scenes? There's an awful lot that the public doesn't know. An awful lot. There's an awful lot some of these board members don't know because they don't go out and ask questions. They don't research like I do. You can laugh all you want. I do my research, please.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
The laughing needs to stop or be removed.
That is, yes, please. I appreciate how you all have conducted yourselves through this whole meeting. So please continue that. Thank you. David?
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Madam Mayor.
Before you make that motion, if I could, please, just a moment. Yes, Betsy?
There was one other thing I forgot to address that a citizen had mentioned.
Okay.
Our form of government is supposed to be really good because of the checks and balances. However, what I'm guessing most people don't realize and has been brought to my attention is that our checks and balances, many of them have been taken away. And that power was given to the city administrator. So our form of government is not what most people think it is anymore. The one example I was given, and I'm going to go back and research more, that's been changed, but it used to be department heads were under the board and the city administrator, that they answered to both. But then it was changed to where they only answered to the city administrator. So the city administrator was given full power. That's not how this government was supposed to be, and that's not the only thing that was done. So those are things, if y'all want to go research, you can find out. Of course, it's mind-numbing to watch every video, to read all the ordinances, all the changes. But yeah, our government is no longer what it was. And that's something I would like to put back. And so that's why I've started the mind-numbing good time of watching videos and reading all the minutes for years. So keep that in mind, please.
With that point,
Thank
I will
you.
state there were 5 positions that were decided when this city charter came as a checks and balances on each other. City attorney, chief of police, fire chief, city clerk, and the city administrator. All had to be hired and fired with the approval of this board. Not that this board did the hiring and firing except the city administrator, but with the approval. It was a checks and balances set up so that you didn't have anyone with more power that could go and do something surreptitiously, behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it, that if, for example, city clerk, city attorney, police chief, whoever saw something that was being done by one of the others, they weren't worried about losing their job. And in 2017, an ordinance was passed that gave all of that power to the city administrator at his request. Now, is that fair? That was a checks and balances set up to protect the people. It was set up on purpose. And I am not implying in any way that there has been anything untoward whatsoever. I know of one administrator that was questionable back in the 80s. That's it. And I believe the next administrators who alerted us, and it was like, wow, we were shocked. So everybody goes around, oh, that could never happen here. This was set up to protect everyone. And all of that consolidation down to one person, I heard a week ago, this just doesn't look good. Well, that doesn't look good either. For one person to be fully in control of every position of the city to where you don't do what I want, there's the door. That's not right, folks. Those other 4 positions and the city administrator were set up as a checks and balances the same way the federal government has the executive, legislative, and judicial branch. But we can have blinders on that you see one side of a person and that's all you believe. And as I said, there's a lot more that the public doesn't know and cannot know.
Thank you, David.
Madam
So
Mayor,
yes.
before we do anything, there is one thing, and you allowed Director Blair to speak. So I would like to also follow up on what one of the citizens cited on the requirements of Ward 4.
Okay.
Whether that's where she lives.
You have a question about?
I would
the
like
comment?
to find out if she actually is required and allowed to vote and be a board of director with her residence where it is.
And I believe you said that you had something, Lisa, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm actually pulling it up
Okay.
right now. This is into the paper. So,
Okay, so if you could also send that to Christina and she then
Yeah.
can assimilate that to the board, thank you.
absolutely.
So before we move on from here, and I ask for a motion to go into executive session, one of the ladies asked whether the mayor called the meeting. And yes, the mayor did call the meeting. I will apologize to you if you feel like that it was something that we were trying to do behind your back. It absolutely was not. The reason that I called this special call meeting is so we could move forward. This was to select a screening committee only. Normally, in a special call session, there is not feedback from the public. Since this was a screening committee only that we were choosing, not a hiring committee, I did not think that there would be a lot of public comment. Apparently, I was wrong. And I apologize to you for that. Having heard how you feel about special called meetings, I will tell you that as a mayor who must call a special called meeting, I will make sure in the future that we do not call a meeting that you all cannot attend. It will be, instead of the middle afternoon, I will make sure that it is later in the day so you all may have the opportunity to attend. So I apologize to you for that. That was my mistake, but yes, I did call that meeting. So I just wanted to answer that question so that it's out there and you all know. The other thing, real quick, is because of the comments about the drainage issues, Don, I know that previously we talked about having a workshop looking at the drainage problems and maybe some solutions. Is that still on the agenda for the future or in the near future? Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I believe it's planned for April 18th, if I'm not mistaken, to talk about our drainage criteria manual. Also, I think there was a question about a section of roadway in town that didn't seem to be on the plans. Sager Creek Drive is on the plans to be completed in 2023. That is on our master street plan update and was budgeted for 2023. It was included in this year's budget. So I just wanted to bring a little clarification to that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Don. So at this time, I would ask if there is a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of considering the terms of employment for a city employee.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Hunt,
Yes.
Chrysler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Smiley,
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn to executive session is passed. We will reconvene at the end of the executive session to announce any decisions that are made. Thank you all for being here.